Have you ever wondered how many small acts of love build the life around you? The things so quiet you almost never notice them. A mended sleeve before the rain came. A warm meal waiting when the day was too heavy. A hand at your forehead in the night when fever found you. The world is often held together by love like that. Soft love, tireless love, the kind that asks for nothing back. And sometimes we do not see how much of it carried us until we are old enough to look back. Hello, dear wanderer. My name is Eloin, and I am so glad you found your way back here tonight. The world beyond can be tiring in ways that leave no visible mark. But here, for a little while, you may set it down. Let the noise stay outside. Before we begin, tell me, what is one small kindness your mother once did for you that you still remember? Something ordinary, perhaps, something small. The quietest loves are often the ones that stay with us the longest. And tonight's story is for those quiet loves. For the hands that mended what was torn, and for the hearts that kept us warm before we ever knew how cold the world could be. So come with me now. There is a small village waiting, and in its golden window light, a girl is about to learn just how much love can be stitched into a life. In the village of Amberleaf, time did not rush. It drifted like a dandelion seed on a summer breeze. The light that found its way into Marta's cottage always seemed to move with a special kind of tenderness, lingering over the baskets of soft wool and the jars of glass buttons that caught the sun like morning dew on a petal. Charlotte sat in her favorite low stool, her chin resting in her palms, watching her mother's hands. Those hands were a beautiful map of a life spent in kindness, dusted with a pale gold of pollen, softened by years of handling fine silks, and moving with a rhythm as steady and comforting as a heartbeat.
Is that the brave thread, Mama?
Charlotte whispered, her voice barely louder than the hum of a distant bee. She pointed to the spool of deep velvet crimson that seemed to hold the glow of a sunset. Marta looked up, her eyes crinkling with a soft, sleepy smile. She did not pause her work. The silver needle in her hand continued its melodic shuck, hush, shuck, hush, through the layers of a thick dove-grey coat. "It is, little bird," Marta replied, her voice like the rustle of silk. "Young Thomas is heading to the high pastures tomorrow to tend the lambs. The mountain mist can be quite shy and cold, so I'm tucking a bit of warmth into his collar. A little reminder that home is always waiting for him." Charlotte reached out to brush her fingers against the fabric. It felt wonderful, not just warm, but truly alive, as if it were breathing back the peace of the cottage. This was the gentle magic of Amberleaf. Marta did not just mend hairs in cloth. She smoothed away the little worries in people's hearts, one tiny, careful stitch at a time. But as the afternoon sun turned the floorboards to honey, Charlotte noticed a quiet change. The silver thimble on Marta's finger, the one that had been passed down through generations of tenders, looked tired. Usually, it shimmered with a soft, pearly light. But today, it was as dull as a pebble in the shade. Marta's shoulders, usually as straight as a young birch tree, were bowed. Each time the needle passed through the wool, she took a long, slow breath, as if she were trying to catch a fading thought.
The sun is leaning toward the hills, Mama,
Charlotte said, standing up to adjust the curtains.
Perhaps the needle is ready for its rest.
Marta smiled, but it was a faint, faraway thing. The world has many frayed edges today, Charlotte, and a mother's work is simply to make things whole again. She went to draw a final, crowning stitch, but her strength flickered like a candle in a gentle draught. There was a sound, not a loud snap, but a soft, crystalline tinkle, like a teacup meeting a saucer. The silver thimble had parted into two neat halves, rolling across the floorboards until they came to rest at Charlotte's feet. In that instant, the cottage grew very, very still. The magical warmth that usually filled the room drifted away, replaced by the quiet, cool scent of a forest at twilight. The glowing spools dimmed their lights, and the brave thread became nothing more than soft, ordinary string. Marta did not fall. She simply leaned back into her chair, her eyes closing as if she had finally found the pillow she had been seeking for years. Her breathing was deep and slow, and the vibrant color of her apron seemed to soften in a gentle, sleepy gray.
Mama?
Charlotte whispered. She reached out and touched her mother's hand. It was not cold, but it was quiet, very, very quiet. Marta had given so much of her own light to keep the village warm that she had finally drifted into the great sleep, a peaceful rest that only the magic of the thimble could wake her from. Charlotte knelt and picked up the two silver pieces. They felt light and smooth, but they were silent. Without them, the golden mending had paused, and the village would soon feel the absence of its heart. Outside, the birds of amber leaf began their evening songs, the melody sweet and low. Charlotte looked at her mother's hands, the hands that had built her world out of thread and love.
You have woven such a beautiful life for me,
Charlotte said, tucking the silver pieces into her velvet pouch.
Now, let me find the thread to bring you back.
She did not rush. She packed a small jar of blackberry jam, a crusty roll of bread, and her mother's favorite wooden comb. and with a soft weight of the wool cloak around her shoulders, Charlotte stepped out into the twilight, the stars beginning to blink awake like tiny lanterns guiding her way. The path leading away from the cottage was lined with slumber ferns, their fronds uncurling in the moonlight to release a scent of dried lavender and old books. Charlotte walked with a light step, her boots brushing against the moss with a sound like a soft exhale. By the time the moon had climbed to the crest of the sky, she reached the meadow. This was where the wildflowers grew, not just any blossoms, but stitchwort and button buds, flowers that bloomed in the shape of delicate sewing tools. In the center of the meadow, Charlotte saw a soft, rhythmic glow. It was a loom spider, a creature as large as a tea kettle and covered in fur as white as a summer cloud. It was busy spinning a web between two silver birch trees, but it wasn't a web for catching flies. It was a web for catching moonlight.
"Good evening, little weaver,"
the spider said, its voice sounding like the gentle clacking of wooden knitting needles.
Good evening.
Charlotte replied, pausing at the edge of the silver grass.
I'm seeking the Whispering Mountain. My mother's thimble has found its rest, and I must find the forge of the morning star to make it whole.
The loom spider paused, its many legs moving with a graceful, synchronized precision.
"Ah, Marta's daughter. I remember when your mother found a snag in my silk after a heavy autumn gale. She didn't tear it away. She used a single strand of her own hair to help me re-anchor my home. The forest does not forget a hand that heals."
The spider reached into its web and pulled out a single, shimmering thread of captured moonbeam. It handed it to Charlotte, the thread feeling like cool, liquid silk in her hands.
"The mountain is not a climb of stone. It is a climb of patience. Use this thread to tie your satchel shut. It will ensure your strength and your snacks stay fresh until the sun greets the peak."
Charlotte thanked the spider and continued. As the meadow gave way to the foothills, the air became crisp and clear, smelling of pine needles and cold spring water. She found the path of whispers, where the stones underfoot did not crunch. They hummed. Each step she took sent a low, resonant vibration through her feet, as if the mountain itself were purring in its sleep. She encountered no steep cliffs or dangerous ledges. Instead, the mountain offered her the staircase of clouds, a series of flat, wide ledges covered in white, fluffy lichen that felt like stepping on cushions. Halfway up the ascent, Charlotte grew a little weary. Her eyes felt heavy, and the warm stone in her pocket pulsed with a sleepy, rhythmic heat. She found a small alcove beneath a weeping willow tree whose branches were hung with tiny, glowing glass lanterns, the work of the Firefly Guild. "Rest here, Charlotte," the willow seemed to murmur, its leaves rustling in a gentle lullaby. Charlotte sat down, leaning her back against the smooth silver bark. She took out her jar of blackberry jam and the crust of her bread, and as she ate, a group of thimble mice, tiny creatures with fur like grey velvet, emerged from the roots. They did not scurry or squeak. They moved in a slow, coordinated dance, bringing her a few wild strawberries they had saved from the afternoon sun.
For the daughter of the mender,
they whispered, their voices like the clinking of tiny silver bells. Charlotte shared her bread with them, and in return, the mice curled up around her feet, their tiny heartbeats adding to the warmth of her cloak. She closed her eyes, and for a moment she could almost hear her mother's voice in the wind, telling her that the stars were just the universe's way of stitching the night together. She fell asleep to the sound of the mountain's soft hum and the scent of strawberries and pine. She was not alone, and she was not afraid. The mountain was holding her close, waiting for the dawn when the forge would breathe its first light. Charlotte reached the very crown of the Whispering Mountain just as the stars began to pale in the soft violet of pre-dawn. The air here was thin and sweet, tasting of high-altitude snow and the first breath of morning. At the summit, she found a wide, circular meadow of white clover that seemed to float above the clouds. In the center stood the forge of the morning star. It was a beautiful, open structure made of pillars of living pearl, entwined with climbing roses that bloomed even in the cold. There was no fire here. Instead, a single concentrated beam of the very first light of dawn was caught in a large crystal lens, focusing its warmth into a small, golden anvil. Charlotte approached the anvil, her velvet pouch held tight in her hands. The two halves of the silver thimble were humming now, a soft, expectant sound like a honeybee waking up in springtime. Standing at the anvil was the master of the forge, a tall, gentle figure whose clothes were woven from autumn mist and whose hair was the color of a winter moon. He held a small, delicate wand made of polished cedar. The daughter of Marta has come a long way, the master said, his voice as smooth as a river stone. And she has brought with her the kindness of the forest. I see moon silk in your bag, and the warm stone in your pocket. These are the threads of a good heart. Charlotte carefully placed the two broken pieces of the thimble onto the golden anvil.
My mother gave all her warmth to the village,
she said softly.
She mended every tear until she had no thread left for herself. I wish to make this whole so she may wake.
The master nodded. To mend the thimble of a tender, we do not use heat or force. We use the light of recognition. You must tell the forge a memory. Not of what your mother did for you, but of who she is. Charlotte closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of the clover and the mountain air. She did not think of the mended coats or the warm soup. Instead, she looked down at the jagged edges of the silver resting in her palm. They felt heavier than they had in the valley, not with the weight of metal, but with the weight of years. She remembered a winter years ago when the snow had piled high against her windows. She had been a small child, tucked safely into a cocoon of blankets, watching the firelight dance. She remembered the rhythmic shuck-hush of her mother's needle late into the night. At the time, Charlotte had thought it was just a sound, like the ticking of a clock. Now, in the absolute silence of the peak, she realized it was the sound of her mother's rest being traded for her daughter's warmth.
Every stitch was a choice,
Charlotte thought, her heart swelling.
Every time she sat in that chair when her back ached, she was choosing to build a wall of safety around me. She was weaving her own strength into my cloaks, so I would never feel the winter.
She thought of the brave thread Marta tucked into the collars of the village boys. It was not just magic. It was her mother's own courage, thinned out and shed until there was barely enough left to keep her own heart steady.
I saw her as the heart of the house,
Charlotte whispered to the quiet air.
but I never saw the cost. I took the warmth like I took the air, without ever wondering where it came from.
A deep, soulful recognition settled over her. She saw the calluses on Marta's fingertips, not as marks of work, but as symbols of a quiet, relentless devotion. Her mother hadn't just fixed things. She had held the world together with her own hands, so Charlotte would not see it fraying at the edges.
She is the soft light in the window when the world is grey,
Charlotte said, her voice trembling with a new, clear understanding.
She is the patience of the oak tree and the song of the hidden brook. She gave me her light so I could grow toward the sun. And she did it so quietly I almost missed the magic of it. I see you now, Mama. I see the love you hid in the seams.
And as she spoke, the first ray of the sun broke over the horizon. The crystal lens caught the golden light and poured it over the anvil. The two silver pieces did not melt. They began to glow with a soft, pearlescent radiance, reaching out to each other like two hands finding a familiar grip. As that realization settled into her heart, that silent, profound thank you, a single tear fell from Charlotte's cheek. It landed on the broken silver just as the light from the crystal lens intensified. The tear did not roll away. It shimmered. catching the dawn and turning into a liquid silver thread that wound itself around the break. With a sound like a single, perfect note from a silver flute, the thimble became one. It was no longer dull. It shimmered with the brilliance of 1,000 mornings. The master picked up the thimble and placed it back into Charlotte's hand. It was as warm as a sun-baked stone. Go now, Charlotte. The path home is downhill, and the wind is at your back. The journey back to Amberleaf felt like a dream. The birds sang in a grand choir, and the flowers along the path bowed their heads as she passed. When Charlotte stepped through the door of the cottage, the house felt expectant and still. She walked to the chair where Marta sat in her deep, peaceful sleep. Charlotte gently took her mother's hand, which was still quiet and pale, and slipped the glowing thimble onto her finger. The effect was like the first day of spring arriving in a single second. The magical warmth flooded back into her room, smelling of cedarwood and lavender. The jars of buttons began to hum, and the brave thread on the table glowed with a vibrant, steady crimson. The color returned to Marta's hair, and the grey fading vanished from her apron, replaced by the bright, cheerful colors of a life well lived. Marta's eyes fluttered open. She looked at the glowing thimble, and then she looked at Charlotte. A deep, soulful smile spread across her face. Not the tired smile of before, but a bright, rested one. "I had such a lovely dream, little bird," Marta whispered, her voice full and strong. "I dreamed you were a weaver of the high mountains."
It wasn't a dream, Mama,
Charlotte said, leaning her head against her mother's shoulder. Marta took Charlotte's hand, the silver thimble glowing between them. "Then come," Marta said softly. "The village will be waking soon, and we have a new song to stitch together." And there, in the golden light of the cottage, mother and daughter sat side by side, their needles moving in a perfect, peaceful harmony that would keep Amberleaf warm for many, many years to come. And now the mountain has gone quiet. The forge has dimmed into morning light. And in the little village of Amberleaf, the cottage windows are glowing once more. A mother's hand is moving again, needle through thread, thread through cloth, mending small tears no one else would have seen. Perhaps that is the way of mothers. So much of their love is stitched into the unnoticed places, into warm meals waiting at the end of long days, into mended sleeves, into sleepless nights, into the 1,000 quiet kindnesses that hold a life together without asking to be seen. And sometimes we do not understand the shape of that love, until we feel the space it leaves when it grows still. So if your mother is near, may you hold her a little closer in your heart tonight. And if she is far or beyond the reach of this world now, may her love still find you, like warm thread through winter cloth, still holding where you cannot see. And now, my dear wanderer, the mountain path is fading behind us. The cottage door is closing softly, and your own room is returning around you. The familiar hush, the weight of your blankets, the small, steady world waiting to carry you into sleep. May you rest tonight knowing this, that you too were once held together by gentle hands, and perhaps in ways you do not yet see, you still are. Good night, my dear wanderer, until we meet again in the quiet